are live. What's up, lads? How we doing? Welcome
What
back.
up?
You have reached the next episode and installment of the Mecca of Banter. And this one is a special one. We are on an international break and currently while we record, all individually watching the United States men's team blow it against Trinidad and Tobago. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We are here to do our season recap and full season review of the St. Louis City. They're running it on goal, man. This is gonna be this is gonna be a tough episode, but no. Again, we're here to talk about City. We have all been recapping and going through the season and looking at some of our favorite goals, some of our favorite games, some of the most fun we had. And we'll talk about everything that kind of happened through the course of the season. The fire start, everything was great, and then trailed off, but a lot of memories. So we'll check in with the team. Nikki, what's up, brother? How we doing?
Doing great, doing great. I say it every time it's international break. I know there's still footy to watch, but it's just really not the same when the Premier League ain't on. But happy to talk about St. Louis City. Obviously, what a great first year. I mean, looking back on it, I think overall, I'm pretty excited with it. But yeah, happy to talk about it.
Happy to hear from you as well. Lucas, what's up, my man?
What's up, boys?
What's
What's up? Yeah, honestly, Hen and I had a jam-packed weekend with photo stuff, so kind of glad there wasn't any prem on this weekend because we probably would have been able to watch a very minimal amount. So that worked out really well. But yeah, equally like piggybacking off what Nick said, excited to talk about St. Louis City and equally as so to say that after this season ended, I'm proud to be a St. Louisan. And yeah, leave it at that for now.
Yep, we've had all a few weeks now to heal, and I think the healing is good, and that's I think why it maybe took this long to do the season review. So,
But that's
United,
also that's also kind of a good thing because I still haven't seen, in doing research online, haven't seen a whole lot of people recapping our team's season as a whole, so hopefully we'll be a good source for everybody listening, to get a good idea for those who didn't get to watch the entire season, to kind of get a recap that we're about to give you guys.
100%. Dobes, how we doing, man?
What's up, lads? Good to see you. Yeah, international break sucks. I honestly think I was thinking about this as we're going through this. Like, I honestly think it's kind of good that we waited a few weeks to do this, because if we would have done it like that week, it just would have been nothing but rage for
Yeah.
a
Just
good
everything's
hour.
the worst, doom and gloom.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Good hour and a half. Nick kind of said it though. It's like nice to like reflect on like a good first season. Top of the league, all the records we set. So yeah, happy to dive in. And I think the fans will enjoy this one.
Yeah, I'm sure there were some other podcast groups that were able to do it immediately after and take a step back. That was not us. We do not have similar temperaments, so it's probably a good wait. But Hen, what's up, my man?
Fellas, what's up? How we doing? It's your boy Hen. It's international break. Still a great week to be a Manchester United fan, but we're all here to talk about St. Louis City. Yeah, coming live with a little bit of like sober judgment to the season. Not all rage, not all doom and gloom, but certainly some things to celebrate, and then some thoughts on the season. But I'm excited that we're diving into it, and yeah, looking forward to it.
Yep, United can't lose points on weekends they don't play. So
Bingo.
same with Tottenham. So to be fair, but that's not what we're here for. We will move right in. We can do what I would consider just the overall season review, start to finish. We saw two very different seasons in my mind. But they obviously have contrasting factors, but it was a good season. You finished top of the league, and all of that was contributed to the first half before the Leagues Cup. So, hop in on that run.
Yeah, so obviously we burst onto the scene right away. I think all of us in this group, like we didn't really know what to expect that first game against Austin. Like I remember like the nervous energy I felt. We Lucas and I went to Amsterdam for that game along with a couple hundred other people, and I remember being legitimately nervous prior to that game. Like this could suck. We came out a lot of goals scored both ways, and we kind of rode that momentum for the first couple games of the season. Like didn't know what to expect. We had a talents that were emerging right away. We couldn't have been like um, we couldn't have been more wrong on people like Berkey going into the season. We were a little bit nervous that he was like a little overhyped and overpaid, but he really turned it around early into the season. But yeah, we came out playing very high press. Um, as much as we wanted to not call it this, it was like energy drink football. Like it is what it is. And I'm glad that you called it out. That's very different than what we saw the second half of the season, who. So I would say that that's how we started out. Very high press. The wings were flying, and we won the ball high up the field, forced a lot of mistakes, and that's who we were the first half of the season.
Yeah, and I think especially in the beginning, and I definitely think throughout the entire season, our atmosphere kind of played into it as well. Like I know we're gonna get into it about the stadium experience and everything, but like before we dive in, I know we all agree that like growing up in St. Louis, we've always dreamt of having an MLS team, and I think it over delivered for what my expectations were. Like I was kind of blown away by everything, the amount of support, the atmosphere at the stadium, the record that we ended up having, going out and watching games with other people, the camaraderie it brought to our city. Like overall, like I just wanted to give a huge shout because that is like something that we've all known St. Louis to be as a soccer town, but I think like everyone now saw it after this first year. So just like big shouts. And I think that also went into kind of what you were saying with the way we started out the season with that high press, high intensity. Like I think the us being it's our first season, everyone behind us, like that whole mentality was like shown through our effort when we were doing that high press style in the beginning of the season.
Let's used us, I think, as the stronghold of soccer that we are to his advantage with that style immediately. It was like, oh, blue collar, like you just effing work.
Mhm.
So that suited the city so well immediately, and I think it was the energy drink that Gabe Keller's making back passes to to Stroud or
St. Louis and baby.
um,
He just can't
I
stop catching strays, man. Poor guy.
he did, dude.
He thought he was done.
Yeah.
But I no, that's a good point, Nikki. And we were the first ever expansion team to win our first five.
Mhm.
I think those are the stats and statistics we can confirm. So that was electric, and the energy drink was working. So ride it out, right?
Yeah, you would think like that's what it was. And to be honest with you, that's kind of what we saw through the first like 10 games. It wasn't like it just stopped
Yeah,
right
yeah.
then. It didn't work all the time. There are some games that we dropped, our first drop points was like 6 games into the season. It was against Minnesota, a 1-0 loss. I remember that game just being so fucking obnoxious. Couldn't get anything going. It happens. Like whatever. It was not only like our first drop points, it was also at home, which you hate to see, but is what it is. We move into the Open Cup where we play Union Omaha. A lot of us were at that game. We destroyed Union Omaha. Union Omaha, who's what is it?
They're USL
Second.
one. I don't even.
Yeah,
They're not
yeah,
even
USL.
championship. Yeah.
So we beat him 5-1. That was the emergence of Aziel Jackson for a lot of us. He balled out in that game. So did Celio. He played all across the front. But right around that time as well, Klaus got hurt. If you remember, like what was happening back then. During the Omaha game, we saw Celio play as like the number 9, but really like a false 9. He played all across the front because we were trying to see like who is going to step up in that spot. So far, Klaus I think had scored every game leading up to that, and then got injured, and we saw kind of the emergence of Giacchini through that time, through the next couple of games. But I would say, um, you know, even as we went up to the Leagues Cup, I would say that Klaus getting injured and us trying to figure out what the fuck to do with our number 9 situation was like one of the first moments of real adversity that we saw, and what was that, 10 games into the season, 9 games into the season. And I don't know if we really like fully figured that out, but
Yeah.
Ryan Butchart joining the chat.
Welcome, brother.
Wow.
I rushed home, fellas. How we doing?
Bro, why aren't you in bed with a rom-com and a candle, man?
This is crazy, bro.
Hey, I just rushed home so I could be here with the boys. You know,
Wow.
I'm
Coming in
here.
live.
Yeah, what a hero.
What
Absolute
a hero.
But yeah, so I think trying to figure out that adversity at the number 9 situation, like, we try to press from the front the first, 10 games of the season, and now you don't have the guy who's leading that and can play into him. So I think, yeah, the Klaus getting injured was one of the things going into that like middle stretch of the season that was a huge hindrance for us.
Yeah, it was noticeable. Like there may have even been like a locker room, like, shit. Like, what do we do from here? Because he was so far and above. He was making an MVP run. Like, if that man doesn't get hurt, I think we're talking about a completely different season. To be fair, I mean, he was that game changing for us. Like,
I also think it would have gave us time to like learn. Like, I think Klaus towards the end of the season, when we really needed him in the playoffs, he was still trying to like learn or get back into the groove.
Yeah,
of the team.
totally.
Like, him grooving all season with the team, scoring goals would have been so important for us come playoff, when that's when we need it. Like, absolutely have to have it. And if he's done it consistently throughout the entire year, it's something I felt like we could have relied on more.
We wouldn't have Big Sam unless he got hurt. Like,
That's true.
point.
That's
Yeah.
very true.
there's absolutely no. And I'm not saying that either way. I'm just saying that that's when we recalled him was the moment that he went down. Then all of a sudden he came on the scene as like a baller. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't want to give away my later conversation, but like, I don't know if Big Sam was a baller. Like, I think I think he really, like, I mean, he ended up being like joint second highest score. So like, give credit where credit's due. But I remember when he went down in the first place, like, I mean, he was obviously huge and athletic. Like, we saw that, but like, his touch wasn't there. Like, the first couple of games of the season, like, he just was not. He wasn't up to caliber of even like a Giacchini who was playing second fiddle to Klaus at that time. And then he came back, and yes, there was success with it, but like, it was a huge drop off in between Klaus and Big Sam, even in the way that we played. And I think we saw that as well later in the season when both of them played at the same time. They couldn't, not only could they not mesh with one another, like, they were just two completely different kinds of players. Like, they couldn't be more different in how they go about playing the game. So I agree that like, without Klaus's injury, we wouldn't have seen Big Sam, but like, I don't know if that would have been the worst thing. And that's no discredit to him. Like, I think that without him, we would have been fucked for the season. So
Yeah,
no,
100%.
no shot at him, but I think that was something that we really had to figure out.
He scored some big time striker goals. Like,
Huge.
huge striker, big man, number 9. Bang one in with your head. A couple of those. Like, there's a real striker in my man, and I think he has every right to be at this level. And whether or not we've got a healthy top line, I would agree. He's lower on the end of my depth chart, but showed up when you needed him. There's absolutely, he's just not Jack Klaus.
Yeah, totally.
I think like looking from the start of this season, and not to like go full recap, but it's like very fair and real that I talked about it like numerous times before the season started, as it started, like just learning the MLS, and, like learning what the league is like. Truthfully, I'm still not exactly high on the MLS. You can turn on a Tuesday game or a Wednesday game and somebody's playing, it'll be like the worst game you've ever seen. But like, I think what's cool with City is like I didn't know my care level, if that makes sense. Like I knew I'd be into it. I knew I'd like want to go to the games. Like I didn't know that I would get as passionate as like they stuck this in right off the get go with like that 5-game winning run.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was kind of like instantly. It was like, all right, yep, we're here. I'm gonna do this thing. Like whether I like it or not, it's gonna happen. So like the season obviously had the highs and the lows, but for me, that's one of those where you never really know when a new team comes to a new city. Obviously, we've wanted soccer here, but at the same time, like we could have been shitty and like we could have all been here, been like, yeah, not really cared as much. But I think the fact that like we did have such that good first season was like, now everybody's bought in. Like I already can't wait for the next season to start, and I know that everybody else has that similar attitude as well.
That's fair.
The Leagues Cup break was an issue. So,
Totally.
we're running back into just the season itself. The first half was incredible. The League's Cup break was weird. We played Columbus away, and if I want to remember correctly, it was, not very strong of a lineup. So I
Yeah.
don't remember if we felt that, like, I was cool with Carnell not really taking it all that seriously. I think in the position that we were, it's totally okay for this expansion team to just kind of throw this one to the side and, not play all these extra games, get back into the season. The problem was we didn't get back into the season, and the Club America game was weird. The Club America game was not an enjoyable watch. We got dominated almost at home. Well, we did get dominated on the pitch,
Yeah,
but
you got
almost
Olay at home,
also
brother.
in the stands. Like,
Yeah.
Felt like an away game, man. I remember talking about that on the pod specifically. Like I feel like we talked more about off the field stuff than we did on the field. Like I don't think any of us thought that we were really going to win that game, but yeah, just off the top of my head, like the tifos, the music when Club America would score, the amount of yellow jerseys that we saw scattered throughout the entire stadium, just it felt like it was a home game for them. And I don't know if that was kind of like an Americanized instance of the game where we're trying to be welcoming of a team that was outside of our league or not. But like early, even before the season started, so many of us went to that game against Leverkusen, one of the coldest days of my fucking life,
yeah, it was miserable.
and we didn't see anything like that.
Zero.
So I'm looking at it now, and Club America was technically the home team
Right.
in that fixture. So my guess is that
They were worth the price of admission. Terrible day for a City fan, but watching them play in person was sick because they
Yeah, it was
walked
great.
us off our field.
yeah. That was where the skid kind of started. I mean, we come out hot 6-3 to Austin. Lose away to Orlando, win barely at home to Dallas. That was our first. The one after that was our first loss to Kansas City, and that was kind of when I thought, okay, this is a time to maybe take them semi seriously. Not that when they made the return fixture and we stomped them again. At that point, I'm like, okay, I want these guys, But they kept playing, they kept building. But we couldn't get the job done the first time in Kansas City, and I was super bummed about that because we traveled so hard, and I thought there were some shoddy calls in that one. Quick break on the season to just chat general overall refereeing. Not great.
There
Not
we
great
go.
on the year.
It goes back to Dobes's like comment about like trying to get into the MLS, and like that's just one part of the MLS that like absolutely is atrocious.
They got us. They sucked us in with the St. Louis stuff for sure. But we're maybe kind of soccer snobs. If we take a step back here and look at it, I understand. I'm the same way, but it was a St. Louis brand, badge on that chest. I'm done. I'm gonna be an ultra. Like,
Yeah, no, it's tough. Obviously, it's not the Premier League. I mean, they say that the Premier League has the best referees in the world. It's
Yay!
known as how
Yeah.
talent is, whatever. But it was pretty abysmal throughout the whole season. Like, I mean, we didn't know what we were going to expect from these referees. And there were times that they just like completely missed calls. Like a handball and offsides, wouldn't even VAR something. Like I remember especially the second half of the season, and it's not even to make excuses, but I mean there were so many times during the second half of the season where I mean in the playoffs it happened. Like the home game against Kansas City, there was like a handball leading up to the Kansas City goal that hit him in the bicep, which by definition is a handball. They didn't even review it. Like they didn't even look at it. Like it's just crazy stuff like that it does make it hard. Obviously we're biased because it's our team, but like sucks when you look at that and you can like think back to the season. There's like distinct things missed. It's just not a good look.
I've spent enough time on the Mecca Twitter to see other MLS ultra type Twitter heads, and that's the general consensus. So I don't think we're totally in the wrong in saying it sucked. Like the refereeing sucked. The things that they wouldn't go check were astonishing. It's not there to re-referee the game, which is what's really happening in England and Europe, but like to just have the lackadaisical nature of just letting some of this stuff go without even looking, that's the wild thing to me.
As a ref, you're supposed to literally go the entire game unnoticed, really. And I think every MLS ref that I watched wanted to make a point at some point in the game or make his name known or like make a referee decision that would cause an impact in the game. And that is like, I absolutely hate that.
They're also
Yeah.
stiff too, dude. They're all like, when they hand out yellow cards, they're like, no more. They're so exaggerated. Like, just relax, bro. This is a football match. Like, just referee it. They're extra.
Is it extra?
But so rounding out at the end of the season, we all kind of know what happened. There's no real need to dive in on it. We think, and personally from the group, there may have been some inconsistency with lineups. One thing that Lutz and Bradley said in their, postseason presser was that they didn't handle that last international break well. Which, to be fair, I'm not really sure how you handle an international break. Like these guys had 10 days off when then there were 2 matches left before the playoffs. So we didn't come out of wins into this break. What Butchie, do you know what you're doing on the international breaks? You're a high school coach, but like extended periods of games off. What's the play?
Yeah, I was gonna say, bro, like it's a little bit different for me, but I mean, for example, my girls' team in the spring, we train for 2 weeks of preseason, and then they go on spring break for a week. Like literally, I go 7-8 days without seeing them at all. And then we come back and we play 3 games. So it's like
Zucchini went to Padre for international break and got back and had to go straight into playoffs.
Yeah, but it's just like it's different in high school because we kind of just hope and pray that they stayed active. But at the professional level, like I don't really see how you can do it wrong when you're still training. Like, weren't they still training over that break?
Yeah,
maybe,
not intense enough.
Yeah, that's the thing.
There has to be something like inside of the training ground though. Like props to them for saying like, we didn't handle it the right way. It's like, well, for sure.
Obviously.
Yeah, like we saw that, but like, yeah, what was the training regimen? Like where was the focus lost within the group that like either someone didn't rally the troops enough to say, hey, we gotta get our heads out of our ass, or like maybe it just was like
I think it's
everyone just thought that they were just they thought that they would just pull it out. Yeah.
I think we've got a ton of guys that have never played in the MLS before. Bradley's only done this international break. I don't think happens every year. This isn't something that anyone was all that prepared for. There's no way these guys had just gone all year with the travel that they've just been, succumbed to for the first time. Like they'd never traveled distances like that in Germany. Lowen, none of those guys have, gone to LA and back in a week. Like, so they're just now figuring out that it is kind of taxing. There's no shot anyone was focused on anything for that break. And I don't slate anyone for that. Like that's just an experience thing.
It's too close to the playoffs when we're needing to peak. Like I think we said it multiple times. Like I think we were very experimental towards the end when we did not need to be. Well, like I also agree, like injuries and games and all of that goes into account.
Squad rotation has to happen. Yeah.
But also at the same time, like going into playoffs, you need everyone on the same page, and we were obviously not. Like I think it was very obvious, like not only us, but I think multiple fans out there saw how not on page we were going into playoffs. I mean, our record speaked for itself. I'm not sure what our final month was if someone has the exact number, but I'm pretty sure we only won 4 games, like something like that.
Yeah,
it's like 4 games out of our final 15 or something like that.
Let me play devil's advocate a little bit here. I do think that the international break plays a massive role, but at the same time, I think that when you go into a season as a team when every single analyst in the world is picking you to finish between like last and fourth to last, and you're playing with absolutely zero pressure, like you can play as if you're underdogs. And then when you get to the second half of the season, you're playing with a bunch of guys who it's their first season together and they're being expected to play like not underdogs, but dogs. They're expected to play every single week. They're top of the table. They're now expected to show up and show out every single week. And I think that's one of those where we clinch so early that has such, whether we like to think it or not, and they're professionals, but like the experience of these guys not having been in a situation where like they have to stay pedal to the metal till the end of the year and going into playoffs, like it definitely plays some sort of mental role. And then I think that's where the 2 weeks also comes into it. But for me, it was like, even before the 2 weeks, it was like we were seeing a team that was nowhere near what they were at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, that's a great shout.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just to me, it's like, and I think we'll learn from it that no matter if we're finishing first or wherever we are next year, that like this time of year, or excuse me, a few weeks ago, like every single game like has to matter. You got to learn to be able to play like your winners versus like, not being able to, I guess, live up to expectations.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I think it's a solid shout that even prior to that international break, we weren't playing great. Yeah, just seemed like we just hit that point, and maybe it was the Leagues Cup, and everything regressed so hard after that, but we could never find our footing again. And then I think it's also important to note, Nick, you made a great point of like we got experimental in a time of the season where you don't need to be experimental. I don't mind squad rotation. Like I don't mind it.
No,
The best
yeah.
teams in the world do it. It is what it is. But like we couldn't even predict the formation. Like it that
Not
that
even not the lineup, the formation.
yeah, like not being able to predict a lineup, whatever, like that does happen. But the formation thing is so weird to me, and um, yeah, it was more than injuries, like
Yeah.
it wasn't like Alm kind of bounced around with being injured, not injured, injured, not injured the entire season. We had a big injury with Klaus, like Nilsson came back, whatever, but like we had the guys. It was just odd, man. It was so weird.
I'm looking forward to this Nilsson resurgence. I think he was maybe stuck in a tough position to be. You could see the class, you could see the quality absolutely out of him. Taylor Twellman shouted it out, and there was some chemistry or understanding with him and Tim Parker that may have not been up to par. But I'm excited for him to get a full season and really come back with the squad and be able to contribute there.
Yeah.
Any other shouts from the recap?
I don't think
You
so.
know,
I
bummer.
think
Last thing
Well-
I'll say is I think this team was just missing match winner. Like we had Klaus, but we didn't have a guy that was a match winner. And I think that showed towards the second half of the season is even when you don't play well, you need somebody to step up and be that guy. Like we just didn't have that guy. We had a guy that could score 1 or 2 goals in a 4-1, but like we didn't have what some of these other teams have in their leading goal scorers, their center midfielders, all their playmakers that, your Carlos Vela who's going to show up no matter what. We don't have that yet.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things we can kind of get into a little bit, like that we need to find, whether it's internal or go get somebody.
Yep. So before we roll into just reading my agenda here, before we roll into kind of what we see in some squad rotation, let's keep it light. We had some super, super awesome moments this year. I had so many sodas at City Park that took so much money from me. But we have I wrote down a couple. I think the guys have a couple. Let's start with our favorite live match that you went to. I'm willing to start because I've got mine off the top. The Storm game, Cincy at home.
Bro, that was mine too.
2 hour 45 minutes, 3 hour rain
Yeah.
delay, storm delay. It was mayhem. People were trapped in the stadium in the bathrooms because they couldn't go outside. The Ultra Club was not opening for Ultra members, of which they said was on their weather plan thing. We were running around outside getting to Union Station. There's nothing going on. We Uber to Sports and Social. We have so many sodas. And so does the rest of the stadium. Everyone showed back up 2.5 hours later, 17,000 or so. And it was the sloppiest crowd I've ever seen. And they performed so hard. It was awesome. Every type, set piece goals, open play goals. I was 5 rows up. I was on TV losing my mind at the ref. It was the most fun game for sure of my experience.
Little
Yeah,
I was just
Go
gonna
ahead,
say,
Nick.
little side note to that game. I was at a wedding that night, and my cousin left the wedding because of the rain delay was so late. went to the Cincy game and watched the rest of the game.
So cool.
I was
That's
so
awesome.
jealous. I was ticked.
I'll double down on that because that was my favorite game too. I think just the weirdness that is that delay and for people to come back, like they served alcohol the entire time, which is crazy. Like
Ridiculous.
because let's say that the game doesn't start and you just liquored people up for 3 hours because it's all you could do.
Yep.
But like I was lucky enough to be at Cyberg's with a couple of people and we just had such a great time. And then we balled out. Yeah, like you said, like I was so nervous going into that game because Cincy at that time was unbeaten, I think. Like they were like the best team in the MLS, and then we just dogged them 5-1. Like it was for sure the best. And I was like 3 or 4 rows behind you. So that was cool too. Like we didn't know that we were sitting so close, and that was
No.
cool. That was my favorite.
I was losing it.
Yeah, it was great.
Bro. So many good games. Dude, my favorite game live was the second home game ever against San Jose when we all went. Brother, what a whirlwind of a night. It was cold as shit. It was like 10 degrees. I walked in. I remember walking in absolutely schlabberclonged, like barely walking straight schlabberclonged, dude. Dobby and I had like 7 Guinness at Tam Ave. We walk in. It's awesome. It's my first time seeing the stadium. Okay. And then all of a sudden we get to the seats and it's like, I just sobered up. It's like the heavens above just opened up and said, be sober. And I was like locked in and it was great. It was phenomenal. Then we won 3-0 that night. We were 1 row off the field, like right in front of the San Jose warming up, where the reserves were warming up. Remember? And we were just heckling that one dude who looked like Victor Osimhen, bro. And we were holding up. Lucas was holding up the photo of Osimhen the whole time. Dude,
Like Henry, I'm doubling down with Butch because that was one of 2 games that I was unfortunately only able to go to this year. But the fact that we were able to have that much fun and like the atmosphere was still so crazy with the weather conditions. Like it was freezing cold and I had one of like the best nights watching a sporting event in a very long time. And that was with all of those like things on the side.
Yeah, that was such a fun game.
Live check-in for our fans. Trinidad and Tobago.
Matt Turner Howler.
Matt Turner
Yeah.
Howler.
Yeah. 2-1
wow.
Trinidad and Tobago. Howler indeed, but maybe the ball's moving a lot on the free kick, but
Nope. Don't say that.
Dobes, what was your favorite game, bro?
The first game against Sporting had to have been
A lot of fun.
only because it's one of those things where you don't really know how real the rivalry is going to get, and then they went along with the soccer capital of America shit that they pulled for so long.
Yeah.
And then for them to come in like the first game of that rivalry and for us just to walk them off the field was one of the best feelings. And I think it just sort of like eggs on the rivalry from here on out. Like I didn't really know what to expect, but now, especially after getting bounced by them in the playoffs, like that game just means so much more now, I think. I don't know. Great game to be at. But with the backstory going on as well, just made that much sweeter.
Love that.
Wigs, you got one?
Yeah, man, mine was the San Jose game too for all those same reasons. Just like one of those nights that you're just like freezing your ass off, but you're with the boys and you make it on TV right behind, where the guys are celebrating and that was just so electric. But to be different, Butch, I went to a ton, so it's kind of like spacing out on me.
Yeah,
But
dude.
Butch, what was the game that you took us to?
We went to Colorado Rapids.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah,
So-
we played 18 holes of golf before that, remember?
Yeah, so that will probably be mine.
Schlabberclaw.
Just to be different. Yeah, purely because of like the day as a whole. Like we started out drinking on the
that
golf
was the
course.
day.
We played Forest Park if I remember correctly. And yeah, and it like felt good outside, but then like we got to the stadium and it was so. What happened? Hold on, pause.
No, you're good. Missed breakaway. Keep going.
You good? Trinidad and Tobago just missed a breakaway.
All right. Anyways, yeah, that Rapids game was sick, and I know that was Jake's first game too, right? Who obviously we're missing tonight, but it was Jake's first game. I remember I was sitting next to him in our seats, and him and I just each got 2 of those giant pieces of pepperoni pizza, put like honey on it and the crushed red pepper, and it was so hot already that like after we got done eating the pizza, we're like watching the game. The pizza was hot, so like we're both sweating our asses off, like dapping off the sweat with napkins. But it's another one of those things that like the soccer was good, but it's for me a lot of it was like the atmosphere and like who I was with and that kind of thing too. So
I,
soccer wise, the San Jose game was super fun and the camaraderie, but all of us going to the Colorado game was
That's a
sick.
good one. That's a good
I-
one. That's a great one.
Yeah, Dobes. Butch thought he couldn't stand up straight. Dobes, I thought
That-
was going to.
That was a good one. Those fans around me knew my feelings for Jared Stroud that day.
Dude, and Tim Parker, dude, both of them. You were just howling the whole time. I'm dying like 4 seats down listening to you. Just
is that the one with the video of someone pans you for and he's just in the background? He goes, Jared.
Yep.
that is such a
you would have thought Dobes was a Colorado fan at that game. It was insane.
My honorable mention is the second Kansas City game where Dobes and I took our significant others and we sat in a section that wasn't used to having guys like us sit in the section. and we went 80 minutes without scoring a goal. So we were absolutely berating everyone. And this family friendly section was not prepared, and then we bagged, 4 really nice goals in 10 minutes. So that was a good one. Favorite goals? Do you guys have individual ones that you remember that you were just like, damn?
I can go first.
Oh, you can go,
Rip
Dobes.
it.
Yeah, I think it was it Sporting in September? I forget who it was against, but it was the goal of the month in September. The Joao Klaus, the touch across, and then the half volley.
The toe poke.
No, the half volley, the one where he brought it down, came across his body, and then I think it was the September goal of the month.
Oh, it was the Kansas City one. Yeah, at top of the box.
Sporting. Yeah, it was a goal. It was the goal of the month where he brought it across his body and then just like half volleyed it side netting.
Just disgusting.
He like got caught between like volleying it and bringing it down, and it was in this middle space.
Yeah, like
We should see if we can't post our goals on Instagram after.
Yeah, we gotta do that.
Oh, definitely,
Bro.
Pretty sure that was mine as well. I think it was like outside of the foot / like a toe poke.
Yeah,
That went into the side netting.
Mm-hmm.
No, my favorite was Klaus's goal against Austin, that first game where he cut Kip Keller, took his soul, and then bent it around with the outside of his foot.
That
and
was
I was
electric.
like, the fuck am I watching? Like, what is the MLS? Like, this guy is disgusting. Like, I remember watching that being so impressed. And then there's another one, but I can't remember who it was against. So this is like not the most impactful thing I've ever said. But it was when Klaus was hurt, Giacchini. I remember like being on the pod, like maybe the week before, talking about how like the one thing missing from like Giacchini's game is just like that absolute I'm a dog, I'm gonna finish whenever. And he scored this like crazy header literally the next game, and I felt like it was like the most like I'm him moment that we had in the season. Like that, so that those 2 goals I loved those 2 goals.
Giacchini had another little like outside the foot. I remember in the Mecca, we were there, but it was like an outside the foot ball came in hot, and he just like chipped it over the keeper. Bogey was like, yo, that was intentional. He did that on purpose. And I was like, that was on purpose, bro.
That's our guy.
That was real. Oh, that one lives, dude. The Austin one you just mentioned where Klaus cuts in that outside the foot. I didn't celebrate. I didn't know what to do. I was like, I was choking. I didn't know. I couldn't. Nothing was comprehending to me at the moment. Like, I had so much money on that game. We were plus 400. We just went up 3-2 in like the 85th on like an unbelievably impressive goal. Like, I didn't know who this Klaus guy was. I knew he came from Germany, but that was insane, dude.
Yeah, I love that. That was so sick.
Speaking of not really knowing how to react or reacting at all, one of mine, aside from some of the ones you guys said, was Lowen's like 45-yard cross free kick.
Oh
goal,
yeah,
intentional or not. That was kind of wild. I think it was against Vancouver. But yeah, he was just like 45 yards out, 44 yards out on the left side, and just sending a curler that probably was supposed to be a cross.
Yeah.
It
You know,
was perfect placement.
it was great. Couldn't have been any better. Way better than Mudrick's cross. Um,
I will say too, like it's not just one goal, but just like through the first 5 games, how many goals we got gifted to us was just like a crazy thing. Like it was a joke for a while, but it just kept happening. Like that was insane. I also, we talked about earlier, but one of Big Sam's goals, it was the game he scored 2 goals in towards the end of the season. Like he just fucking bombed it. Like just such a tough finish, but yeah, definitely deserves a shout there.
My the other ones I wrote down were the Blom goal at Minnesota.
Oh yeah, bro.
Yeah.
In the moment
That was a
too.
bomb.
It
Yeah.
it was a banger. It was his first professional goal, and it was in such a huge moment.
Yeah, it was
Like
huge.
we won the game. We pulled out of this losing skid or this, draw, loss to KC, win away in Minnesota. Like I don't remember if we were qualified by then or not, but that was electric. And then the hardest goal that I celebrated all year personally was the Tim Parker playoff goal.
Oh yeah.
And while it was short lived, that's the hardest I've ever celebrated a goal in person. Like,
That might be
like
true. I think that was I think that too.
my friends, my random season ticket holder friends in the section, we were like, I was grabbing shirts and yanking people and punching. Like it was scenes. That was unbelievable. Short lived though. So I think that wraps up our goals. Best away, best TV watch. I have Austin just
Yeah,
because
first game.
Yep.
first game
Absolutely.
that
Mhm.
was the most fun. I had people over. We left a bar because the bar couldn't get the stream up. I had people over. We were like too shocked to yell or do anything. Like it was personal favorite.
I mean, how funny is that thinking back to that time of like, I remember we went to Amsterdam because we knew that the game would be there, but like we had talked about going to another bar and we're like, I don't know if anywhere's going to have this game on. Like, we didn't even know if places were going to be receptive to St. Louis City,
Yeah.
which is just funny because now like it's on everywhere. But I
They
remember thinking that.
they put out a bar list. I remember because that's where we
Yeah.
went to Big Daddy's. It was like sponsored St. Louis City watch party. So
Yeah.
we went, and the guy just couldn't get his internet to work. He didn't have the internet strength to get him on all the TVs. So we
That's
left.
so funny. Yeah.
Yeah, we punked Salt Lake away 4-0. That was a good one. And then when we went to Portland in the third game of the year and beat them at home,
Yeah.
I was like, this
That's a defining
is
game.
real as
Yeah.
hell. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I remember us talking about that in the pod, being like, "This is the real test. Can we
That
do
was-
it?"
yeah.
I remember that.
on a rainy night in Portland. We did once.
We did.
So that was exciting. So we've got some superlatives to throw out, and then we'll move into the kind of squad position things that we want to see some rotation on. But MVP's kind of unanimous. Do we have personal opinions? Like, there's
Yeah.
obviously a guy
mean,
that was
Robin
given-
Berkey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Berkey.
Berkey for sure.
Yeah, just makes it. I can't imagine what this season would have been like without him.
There's
yeah.
definitely shouts for like thinking about Lewin if he never got hurt. Like he easily, I think, could have been MVP conversation if he actually didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
And then Klaus, of course, but I think with the injuries, it just has to be Berkey.
Lewin
Yeah.
third in newcomer of the year in MLS. That's a pretty telling statistic and telling vote. But
Yeah,
yeah, Berkey was just
Favorite gravy, man.
that money we spent on him, fairy dust, worth it. Every penny.
That's a Fugazi.
It's a
Fugazi.
Fugazi.
Cool to
Fugazi.
see, I know we've said it, but it's cool to see a guy like him who's played in like the biggest league in Germany, played in the Champions League, like buy in, and that's kind of what we needed was a guy like him to buy in.
Yeah.
And I think there was questions of that commitment at Dortmund. So it's, maybe good to see the turnaround. I do think he's a dog. I'm not going to lie. I think he's loving living in a brand new city and being the man. So he and Giacchini took Markanich to Bar Napoli. Let's not forget that because that says a lot, guys. That says a lot.
That's so funny.
Who was your most impressive or surprising player of the season?
I'm gonna go. For me, most surprising, I think Indiana Vasilev was very good. I like him.
It's a good shout.
I think that
I
is
like
too.
him. I mean, he kind of got wrote off at other clubs, and I think he's found a home with us. I think he's a good player. Silky.
Mine could be a very biased answer because he was on the pod, but I think Josh truly impressed me this season as a
Agreed.
center back. I To be fair, going into it, I thought it was just us being biased, and then after watching him put in shift after shift and be so calm on the ball in the back, unlike some of our other center backs, like I think he really impressed. And to be fair, I think it should be him and Nielsen moving forward. If you want me to be completely honest.
I hope he doesn't go anywhere because I think I personally, and I don't think he'd have an issue with me saying this either. I don't when we interviewed him, bro. No one really saw the resurgence that he was going to have and the actual role and squad position he was going to fill. He was the guy that brought everyone in and rallied them and has a great leader and perfect for that City 2 crossover situation.
Yeah.
He became one of our best defenders, hands
100%.
down. So I think that's a fantastic shout, and I hope he stays because what a good dude and good for the city.
100%.
I agree with Josh. I think that Indiana is a great shout throughout the entire season. But I want to give a shout out to Marquinhos. I think small sample size. He only came in at the end of the transfer window, so it wasn't like we got to see him for a whole season. And he didn't have the best playoffs. We know that to be true. He had a horrible first game of the playoffs, and then he got sat the second game. But I think our team was just crying out for an actually creative going forward wingback, and I think he's the only one on our team that can do that. And for as young as he is, and also being another guy that kind of got wrote off by, I want to say Colorado is where he was prior, like with the Rapids like U23 team. I was really impressed with him from the moment he came in all the way through the end of the season, barring the like one or two games. But I feel Josh is my number one, but I also want to give a shout out to Mark Anich.
Wingsy?
No, I agree with the Yarrow shout for sure. I think that it's also tough to pick like a most surprising player because we obviously didn't watch any of these
surprises.
guys prior to this year, right? So it was more so for us. It was like over the course of the season who surprised us the most. And while we were all rooting for Josh, especially after we got to meet him and learn more about him, seeing him kind of develop over the course of the season was really really cool and special.
I'm gonna go with, and I actually do believe mine. He hasn't even been mentioned, and he didn't play as much as he should. I'm going Stilio. I'm going Stilio. I have to just because like those who watched him last year for City 2, I didn't expect that he would be able to do sort of replicate the type of player that he is in the MLS. But at the same time, like I'm very confident saying that like we can debate how much playing time he had or want, but like I think he's our best out and out winger that we have on the roster as of currently. Nobody on our team offers what he does. He's direct. He's not afraid to take people on. He'll go 1v1 with anybody. And we miss more people like him, which kind of leads me in like our next subject we're going to talk about. But I love Celio because he just provided something different. He still worked both. He still works both ways, but he was like one of the only players in the front three that was actually, I guess you can say what, front seven with the rotation that actually wanted to take people on. And nobody else wanted to do that. So I'm going to go with my boy Celio.
He was the only Brazilian winger on the team. That's for sure. Like, let the man cook, bro.
Yeah, dude. So he wanted to take people on, and then he also had the skill set to do it. Like, I think that's something that's different. Like, I don't think that he's going to get brought up at all, but like Thor came into the side at the same time Marquinhos, and the guy got like, I think collectively maybe 90 minutes the entire season. Like he couldn't really get into the side. Like when he came on, he didn't look like he was really doing a whole lot. I remember his mistake is what cost Berkey one of those shutouts. I remember that. And then the whole team was yelling at him, but like, Celio does that when no one else does. He takes people on, and then he has the ability to back it up. So I think that's a great shout, Dobes. And I don't know, maybe he won't be here next year. I'm not sure. I feel like he's one of those guys that's on the bubble, but I really liked him. He's an exciting player.
Everybody else is a clone of each other. Like they're all
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
We have 5 other guys that like you could take the name off the back of their jersey and just watch them play, and they all do the same thing.
Totally.
Stroud, Indy.
Yeah, they all,
Yeah.
like they all who put the guys that play those wide spots all do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
My only other shout, fellow Bear and
Yep, I was
Yeah,
MVC
say his
defender,
name.
Missouri Valley Conference Defender of the Year. Hebert was great. Kyle
Yeah, dude.
Hebert, man, and from left field. To be fair, I thought he was a rough and tumble center back at Missouri State. He's the only player that I'd watched more than 2 years ago on this team, and he was great. He filled in when needed. He made this really nice little third center back type left back where we're letting Derwinski and whoever go up on the right a little bit more. I thought he did very well for his first season. I'm glad that he's gotten Canadian national team shouts. I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
That impressed the hell out of me. So he and Josh Yar were the 2 guys on City 2 that were defenders, and they were the center back partnership for a while. So it's good to see those guys, get their flowers where it's due. Biggest regression? Who dropped off the hardest?
Oh, well, I guess if they'd never start, they can't drop off. So I'll change my answer.
I have an answer, and I don't think people are gonna like it very much, but I definitely have an answer.
I think it's mine too.
For me, it's Leuven.
Oh.
Yeah, and I know that he got
post injury.
so hard, bro. Like for what he was, and I mean, as we were going through like the season recap, I was looking at some of these games. Like he had a game with 3 assists, pulling the strings, doing the shit, and then like post injury, I feel like not only was he not putting up with the performances, but then there was even some things from like it looked like from like the mental side of the game where he just like he wasn't switched on here. He was like, I don't know. I just felt like his second half, or maybe even his last third. Maybe half is too harsh, but I feel like he was a big drop off, and he was one of the guys that we absolutely needed to pick it up that last patch of the season, and he didn't. And so that's my answer, and I hate it. And that also, I by no means am I writing him off. I think he's such an important part of our team. I can't wait to see him come back next year. But that is my answer, and yeah.
I've got one. What do you, Nick? What you got?
I was just gonna say, similarly to what Henry said, I think Klaus can be just as like similar, literally this like same outcome after his injury. Like beforehand, we thought he was the guy, the goal scorer that he was going to be, and then when he came back, he wasn't really finding it as much as we thought. So I think similarly to how Henry was saying about Lowen, like I think Klaus can be at fault just as much in that case.
Yeah, and sometimes I agree completely with both, but coming back from injury is just tough. It's not. It doesn't make it an excuse. But like that, those are tough for me. I think maybe one of mine, which I also don't like personally. Blom didn't have a great last 6-7 games.
That was mine.
And I think the only reason we can say that is because we saw how good he was middle of the season when he was cruising through the middle half of the season. He was like we were talking world class shots. There were clips of his 2-minute. There were 2-minute every touch clips on YouTube. Like once you hit that level of watchability, I think he was so very much so a key factor in our team.
And we also talked about in that moment too. I remember, I don't know if it was on a pod or just like in person, but with him specifically, we were like, dude, he's gonna get bought. He's gonna get sold at the end of the season, 100% for like so much more than we paid for him. And so in hindsight, if he can find that I'm in the same boat as you, he was mine too. And so if he can, hopefully, not in like a malicious way, but like his regression towards the end of the season, maybe that turns some other teams away from wanting to purchase him. And then if he can find that form that he had at the beginning of the season, could definitely be huge for us.
Yeah, he was mine because I think it's no secret that like we were at our best when he was our engine and he was playing at his best.
Yep.
When he was breaking up play, when he was really good in possession, I think that's what we missed towards the end of the year. Is a lot of times when he got the ball towards the beginning of the year, he would just be able to settle us down for a second,
Yeah.
or make that quick progressive pass. And towards the end of the year, like even in the playoffs, you could tell like he was just playing too quick. He wasn't winning the tackles. He wasn't breaking up play like he typically was. I don't know if that's him playing a ton of games, with the national team and doing what he's been doing, but yeah, I think when he was our best player, like we were at our best, and we didn't have that second half of the season.
He's an interesting character to me, and I think he's settled a lot. But there was no outside media conversations from any other player on the team about being unsettled or
Yeah.
being tired from international travel, or being he hates the cold outwardly. Everyone knows that he didn't want to play in cold weather. So I think for us to know some of those things from where we sit on a podcast of goons that just gives our opinion, that's mildly concerning, and that's, you hope and wish and want the guy to get everything he needs, and that's, what it is. But I think that could have been a role throughout the year, whether or not he was happy, homesick, all of that's real. He's a young guy, but I agree. Once he finds some form, dude, there were moments of brilliance last year. So I hope he stays and gets, stronger where it's due.
Totally. It's a weird shout because I think, Blom and even with Leuven, like those are two of our dogs, and if it's the biggest regression, it's like that's kind of concerning.
Mm. So we'll wrap this up we'll just loop this whole end together. So we've got 3 positions that we want to replace next year, which more or less is transfer targets or people that we may think. We don't, again, we're all still so fresh in MLS. We don't have a list of guys
Yeah.
that we'd like to be replaced with, but a wish list of sorts. What positions do you want stronger players in?
I think my first position is wing backs, and when I say wing backs, I say both of them. So whether that's one position or two, I think that is like the first position on the field that I'm looking at as my least confident on the field. Don't forget we have Johnny Nelson. We like traded for him before the season, and he didn't see the field after a quarter of the way through the season. He literally didn't see the field anymore. So he's still on our roster. We don't have a backup to Nerwinski, really. I mean, Akil Watts, but he's a midfielder. We just need depth and guys that can actually like challenge. And I actually wouldn't even mind going out and like getting a pretty solid like lockdown wing back, even if they're like 27, 28 in the MLS, but they have experience. Like I think that's a position we need to invest in. Actually, all 3 of these positions, I think we need to invest in. Like, I think we need to spend the money, and I think we need to like not just choose the guy with something to prove. Like, I think we can go out and get someone.
We have an open DP slot too, mind you.
Yeah, totally.
So,
Yeah.
I agree. Wing back, and this is one of those positions. Obviously, we don't want to just like splash our DP slot on or anything like that. But like, we're seeing now that guys with MLS experience are useful, and we just need rotation pieces that can be more experienced in bigger moments. And I think that's where we lack for sure too.
It would never happen, but getting like Johnny Tolkien from the Red Bulls like would be so disgusting. That'd be amazing.
I agree with wingbacks, but I think wingers, like kind of Dobes was saying beforehand,
We were all of them. It's
left wing / left attacking mid.
They all pretty much do the same role, and it's something that we don't need at the moment. We need wingers to attack defenders one-on-one. And
we need them to be in the right position at the right time,
and not play passes to the out of bounds
or backwards passes.
Yeah, mine. I'm on the boat that they're all identical. You can change their hair color. You can do it. They're all the same.
Completely agree with you.
Yeah, I think up the middle of the pitch, we're fine, pretty much all the way around. But it's like,
and that was the thing. That was the thing that Lutz hammered all offseason, was the spine of the team, the spine of the team, the spine of the team.
Yeah, that's true.
Our weakest parts were everywhere but the spine of the team.
I think that my third is, you guys might be surprised at this, and this came at like the end of the season. We heard that Lewin like playing this like an 8 or a 6.
Yeah, get a 10.
I think we need a 10.
Yeah, bro.
I think the DP.
Bro.
I think a DP spot as a 10 with like a playmaker could be go Blom, go Lewin at the 8/6, let him go box to box, get a proper 10 that's just not there, but nothing to create. I don't know, man. Like, yes, obviously for me, wingbacks and wingers come first, but if we can get a proper 10 and a DP in that spot, like, I think that can help us so much.
Bro, give me Tati Castellanos right now.
Yeah, bro.
Dude,
Absolutely.
if we get Tati, you'll see me on Channel 5 News running in my underwear on Brentwood Boulevard like Forrest Gump.
Who
I
was
swear to
he
God.
linked with? That I sent you that article like last week or 2 weeks
Who
ago.
is he?
Linked with?
Who is, bruv? Tati Castellanos? He was the stud at New York City for like 3 years and he went to La Liga.
Okay. Okay.
Dude.
He was the MVP in like 2019, right?
Yeah, he was
I know,
MVP.
I know he is. I just like getting Butch riled up.
I never heard.
I mean, realistically, we've got the guy pulling the strings in the background to make all of this happen.
yeah.
I know jack shit about any of the other sporting directors in the MLS, but I have to think that, in terms of connections, we've got one of the best.
Can I give an absolutely rogue from the rafter shout? It is not going to happen, but I could see it happening. Marco Royce as the 10.
Oh my God.
Oh
So,
my!
You know who I was thinking
That
is
happened.
I was thinking it was Mueller.
Yeah, Brett. I mean,
Dude, we just don't live in a cool enough city. Like, it's not.
Here's my point.
They're
Here's
not
my
trying to go
point
to Wheelhouse,
that.
dog.
To that. So,
Gio, take him to Cafe Napoli.
no, here's my point. So last year, Royce, and for the last couple of years, Royce has been the captain of Dortmund. Over the summer, Royce very publicly, not for any bad blood, but very publicly stepped down as the captain because he didn't want the responsibility of being a captain anymore. He's been at Dortmund pretty much his whole career after Mönchengladbach. He's coming towards the end of his career. Lutz has that Dortmund connection. We need a number 10. We can pay for the DP slot. And you say that it's not a super exciting city, but neither is Dortmund. Dortmund is not like the, New York City of Germany. He knows what it's like to be hardworking. He knows what it's like. It's a very like middle class city.
That's a good
I'm
shout.
giving a shout from the rafters.
That's a great
Marco
shout.
Royce.
I
That's what I'm
love
looking
that.
for.
I love that.
Here we go.
He and Berkey got to be old buddies, right? Like they played
Make a
together
phone
for
call.
forever.
Make
What's
a
one phone
phone
call?
Oh, him and Lutz get dinner in
That's all I'm saying.
wherever
All I'm saying.
over the summer.
From the rafters.
I love that shout. That'd
be
be my
so cool.
spots, man. Lutz said he doesn't want to bring in old guys and old dog, new trick type thing, but
But he
He
would do
still
it for
got
Bobby
it.
Firmino? Do it for
Yeah,
Firmino.
yeah.
Do it for Marco
Firmino would have
Royce.
worked. Marco Royce would work. Marco Royce has 2-3 excellent years in those legs. No question
100%.
about it.
Of course, there's just like the injury concern with him,
Yeah.
but it is what it is. Like, I think you bring in a guy like that, and then I still think that you can make a move for an MLS guy or like a USA-based guy in like that backup 10 or whatever it may be. Like, I know that this isn't part of like the agenda, but I also think that there are guys that are going to be on their way out as well. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think that we're just going to keep all the same guys. I think that they're going to either release or trade or do some deals. And I think it's going to open up some space for us to do some more deals. And yeah, like you said, like I also want like the peripheral positions to be filled, but I think we need wing backs and we need a 10 badly.
Yeah, that's a good shot about incomings and outgoings. The roster freeze, I believe, for MLS is December 10th. We're actually one of the only 10 or so MLS teams that has not yet done that roster freeze announcement thing. I don't know all of the details on it, but we should be expecting it's like a final decision on the end of the year roster or something or other. I know that like Miami dropped 3 guys. Nashville's dropped a couple guys. There's been teams that have dropped 5 to 6 guys. It's like a drop period before free agency opens, maybe.
Interesting.
I again, first year in MLS, maybe we'll get better at this, but it also changes every year. So, who knows? I know that the draw for the Champions League is in December. So that's super exciting. We'll find out where we go in the CONCACAF Champions League. But the first match is February 12th.
Let's go.
That's not even that far away.
Which is
No.
I'm here for it.
I'm here for it. We're gonna be have
We need it.
to be deeper. We're gonna play more games. There's gonna be a lot more
Yeah.
midweek stuff. Any other incomings we need? Strength pieces. You guys got anything else?
I'm not saying it's necessarily needed right now, and I don't even want to dive crazy into it because we really didn't touch on him as much, but Carnell needs to impress me this next season is all I'm going to say, because towards the end of the year, I think a lot of his decisions I was not agreeing with, and I think they showed.
Yeah, he needs to make better decisions. I think that that's a great way of phrasing it. Like, it's hard to say you need to impress me more from finishing first in the league, but like we finished first in the league with nothing to show for it, like in playoffs. Like I wouldn't mind finishing lower in the league and making a deeper run. You just need to make better decisions. I agree with that statement 100%.
I think he's bought himself a year at least.
Totally.
We could get last next year, and he's going to be the coach of the year after that, in my opinion. So I don't think no, maybe not, but I don't think he's going anywhere. I agree. Not last. If we don't make playoffs, there's some questioning. But if you make playoffs right now, there's like
And I'm
over
telling
half
you,
the
it's
teams
just
make
like
it.
I want, and it's like I said, I just want to see better decision making. Like I'm not even like expecting us to win the cup or like him out. Like I just want to see him like have an identity and us keep an identity and us
Over the course of the season.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. I want to see it.
The sustainability, getting hot at the right time, making sure you're not getting distracted when you shouldn't be. Maybe
Yes.
it was the first place
Got a
finish.
year under his belt now, so let's see what you got now.
Got it. Definitely drove some complacency in. I think we all pretty much agree on that. But it was a great year. Everyone had a lot of fun. I had so much fun. I interviewed a Clydesdale the first game and predicted the score line. That's still one of my favorite moments from the season.
That's also so big.
That so many neutrals were consumed. But I was emotional walking in the stadium. At the end of the day, dude, I walked in the stadium for the first time and had tears in my eyes because of how excited I was as a soccer fan, football fan, St. Louis, and it encompassed everything that's great about this city and why we love it. And if there's a St. Louis badge on the chest, I'm gonna bleed for it. So,
it's also nice to have all of us on the same side for something. Makes me feel
seriously.
real nice.
A lot more collective thoughts.
Yeah.
Still couldn't tell you who our starting lineup should be or who our best players are. But
100%.
we will always have an opinion on it. There's no way around that. So, from all of us, anyone else?
Happy Thanksgiving, boys.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Roll
Happy
off.
international break. Bring back the Prem.
Cheers.
Bring back the Prem, baby.
We're ready.
Cheers, fellas.
Follow us on
Cheers, boys.
socials.
Cheers.